Hi, I'm Joyce Vincarius from the Greater Sudbury Chamber of Commerce. I'm very happy to be joined here today by the Honourable Frank Iacobucci, Ontario's lead negotiator in the Ring of Fire and former Justice of the Supreme Court of Canada. Mr. Iacobucci, thank you so much for being here today and joining us for a 4in4 discussion. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll be asking Mr. Iacobucci a few questions pertaining to his topic today at the President Series Luncheon about how Canada can improve its relationships with the Aboriginal peoples across Canada. So Mr. Iacobucci, our first question for you. You have been working on negotiating a more equitable framework for resource development with the Chiefs of Mattawa Tribal Council for the Ring of Fire. What are key elements to be considered when approaching this type of negotiation process?
This is not just a development. It is that, but it is more than that. It's building a better relationship with First Nations people, and that goes for the government, that goes for the private sector, and it goes for non-Aboriginal Canadians generally. And if you're going to build a new, better relationship, then that has to have some ingredients. And it's working out those ingredients with the First Nations that involve principles like mutual trust and respect, remembering history but not dwelling on history, and really being willing to share with First Nations by way of what has been called a partnership. Mm-hmm. And those kinds of things all go into the relationship building and specifically development projects mm-hmm. that can take place.
Getting those ingredients right.
Getting
at
those,
the onset.
that's right, precisely.
And negotiations such as a regional framework agreement take patience and time, but on the other hand, there's also the sense of urgency which comes with resource development and wanting it to get it up and running. How do you deal with that dichotomy?
Well, it's a very good question, and because what it shows is that the development involves investors and investment, and investors, not surprisingly, like certainty, and they like to have things done reasonably quickly, and that's important. That is not to be rejected out of hand. On the other hand, we're talking about engaging not just the leadership of the Mattawa First Nations or whatever First Nation or Aboriginal people involved. We're talking about involving the community. So it's one thing to have speed and to have certainty through the speed and getting the investors satisfied, but it's another thing to get it right. Mm-hmm. To get it right, and getting it right means having the patience to make sure that the environment and make sure that other things of great interest to not just Canadians, but in particular the First Nations who live in those areas, yes. Make sure that those issues are handled properly and with the proper input exactly. And participation from the communities.
I think the key is getting it right, as
getting
you
it
mentioned.
Right rather than getting it quick.
Yeah. And do you remain optimistic that Canada can improve its relationships with Aboriginal populations across the country?
Well, yeah, I don't think I'd get out of bed in the morning if I weren't optimistic. The issues that have come from European contact 400 years ago, whatever, have been building. We cannot ignore 1.5 million people for whom there has been a history of neglect mm-hmm. and worse over those 400 years or so. We just can't. We can't hold our heads high internationally or morally unless we improve. And that's why I am involved in this, and that's why so many others are involved in this. We want to make things better for our Aboriginal people, and in doing so, we are making a stronger and better Canada.
Our final question for you. What is your advice for the business community to encourage greater representation of First Nations in the workforce?
Well, I would encourage them to get greater understanding of that before they even go with the development. Make that effort and view their involvement as a relationship, not a transaction. I've said this so many times, and I believe profoundly in it. It's not just buying a car or buying a dishwasher. It is a relationship that you want, because you want that to be sustainable and have the best. And it's in their interest. It's in the interest of companies to have that good relationship. It is the right thing legally, and it is the right thing morally to do. So I would encourage companies to do their part, to encourage, to seek out employment. That has to be, they can't do this alone. The government has to provide training and education so that workforce can be prepared to take on those employment opportunities. But I do believe all of our progress will be dependent on not just one sector, not just the government, not just the private sector, not just the First Nations or the Aboriginal people, but all have to be involved.
And I think your point about building that understanding and awareness
That's
and
right.
relationship building first is the way to go.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much again for this really insightful discussion. We're really looking forward to your speech today at our President Series Luncheon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for watching. If you do like these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have a great day.